Hey everyone, welcome back to another resin pour. This is my first ever freeform geode where you use the silicone border. I've always wanted to try it, and so I thought I'd give it a go. So I have that Teflon paper that I use under a lot of my work, and I didn't want to use it just because there were some rough spots and I wasn't sure if it would hold the resin. But what I did was I have butcher paper on my tabletops, and then I added some clear packing tape on top of that. I'm not sure it's going to work quite well. We'll see when I try to pull it out of the mold and off the table. But then I took 100% clear silicone, and I just began not so gracefully adding layers of silicone to build up the border. So what I would do was I would lay down a layer, then I would cover it and let it dry for 15 to 20 minutes, and then I would go back and do it again, and I realized I was creating rough inside edges, so I took some of the silicone and I used that to smooth out the inside edge so that when hopefully I'm able to peel out this geode piece that it doesn't have sharp gritty edges. I also did make sure that my table was level before I began, and I sure can tell you this using the caulking gun to lay this silicone down wasn't any easy task, and I finally gave up worrying about how smooth and perfect it was and just did the best I could, and then used my finger and some extra silicone to smooth out that inside edge. And after smoothing out that inside edge with another layer of silicone, I took some alcohol wipes and just wiped down the surface so that the resin would stick to it, because obviously the resin's not going to stick to the silicone where I had it touching the base. So it didn't work out perfect, but again, this was a learning experience and it was kind of fun just to free pour. I've mixed up about 1:1 on these awesome ratio cups, so about 5 or 6 ounces of art resin, and I'll list all of my supplies in the description below for easy access. And then I start dividing my resin up into cups. You never want to leave a large amount of resin sitting in a quantity. It will cure really fast. And I like to use the paper Dixie cups and also the little clear 1-ounce medicine cups, because they can bend really good and pinch really well so that I can get more of a consistent pour out of them. Now I'm mixing in some glitter, but it's like a iridescent flake glitter, so it's kind of large, and I'm going to use this in the center of my geode. And I'm going to add to that some turquoise reflections glitter to give it a little more blue. Isn't this so pretty? Then I mix that in, and I like to do that a lot. I mix and match, and I have fun. I do this with my powders, my pigments, my glitters, and everything. Now I'm mixing in a little bit of Pearlex carbon black mica powder, because I think I'll want to have some dark lines running through this piece. And I love Pearlex, it blends so well. Actually, all of the supplies I'm using I really love, and I'll make sure if I have a link for it, I will put that below for you guys. And then I'm going to go in with some Ranger Rick Blue Alcohol ink, because I want something that's a little more translucent. The mica powders and pigments are more opaque, and the alcohol inks are more translucent, and I want you to be able to see some light coming through. I'm just playing around here, folks. I really don't know what I'm doing. I've watched other people do this. They make it look so easy, but I'm telling you, this wasn't easy. And I'm hoping once I get back to the studio and finish this piece, it will turn out to be something worthwhile. This next product is by Eye Candy. It's a powdered pigment and another beautiful metallic color. And just make sure when you're adding your pigments and colors not to add too much. You can always add more. You don't want more than like 10% pigment to resin ratio. It'll just cure really fast and get really gummy on you. And this is a copper mica powder pigment. I love my mica powder pigments because they have that metallic-y pearlescent look, and I really like using that in my artwork. And Armor Art makes this amazing white epoxy pigment. Unfortunately, they stopped selling on Amazon. They're reworking their listing, but I think you can find it on eBay or directly from their website, but it does help give you some great sells. Another white that you can use is Cast and Craft, and I'll go ahead and put that link down below too in case you want to give that a go. And then I'm adding in some Mossy Pearl mica powder, and this is from my own collection of mica powders that I have in bulk that I have not listed yet in my geode kits, but hopefully I'll get to that soon. And it's not quite the color I want, so here's where I like to mix and match. I'm adding just a little bit of sky blue powder until I get the color I desire. So have fun with your colors. Don't feel restricted by one color that's in the pack. Mix and match until you get the desired result. It's part of what makes resin work and this fluid artwork so much fun. And now I'm adding in some silver mica powder. You never know, you might want a little silver in there. You can see I've got quite the palette going here, but I don't know. I just decided with this piece I was just going to experiment and have fun and not worry too much about the outcome. Now taking an alcohol wipe, I'm just wiping off the surface again because I probably did get some powder down in there and I don't want that floating around in my resin. And then I'm going to start by adding the shattered glass and glitter mixture to the middle, which will be the center of our geode, or what's supposed to be a geode anyway. Now I'm going to go in with that beautiful Eye Candy blue. Look how great these cups pinch. That really helps you control the flow of resin that comes out of them. And I'm going to just start with the outside edge and start pouring different colors, creating different color lines. And then you'll see I'll go in and blend it with my heat gun once I get everything put down. You can see I divided some of my white up into one of those smaller ounce cups because I want to get a thinner, smaller line. And again, you can pinch these and get even a smaller, thinner line to come out. These two cups are like my go-to when I'm pouring resin. This is a mix of that mossy green mica powder and sky blue that I created. And again, just going in and adding another thin line of that. And then that copper mica powder. And again, this is in a smaller cup because I want just a thin line. You'll start to learn that certain colors will take over your art white being one of them and copper being another one, which is why I'm going with thinner lines of certain colors and thicker lines of other colors. You kind of just learn as you go. Now a thin line of that Carbon Black by Pearlex. I don't want too much dark in there, just a little bit to help pop out those other colors. Now I'm taking that alcohol ink mixed with resin so that it's more translucent, and I'm pouring that right around the middle of my glittery part of the center of this geode or agate slice or whatever it ends up being. And now I'm just going to repeat the process, going in with whatever colors I feel like need to be next, and till I get this filled in. And then we'll blow it around some with the heat gun and start manipulating it a little bit more. Now I'm taking my heat gun and I'm going to just start blowing it around and heating the resin up so that it starts creating some interesting effects, cells, and softening up those lines. This heat gun is great because it is adjustable temperature and it has low or high speed. And it comes with all these nozzles and cool parts. So unfortunately I can see where my resin isn't adhering to the paper underneath, and I think that's because I use the butcher paper and tape, it's kind of bubbling up and leaving high spots on my surface. So I'm not too worried about it because, you know, I'll be adding more layers and it'll get covered up. But yeah, we'll see how this turns out in the end. I'm really interested to get back in the studio and finish this one. And speaking of finishing this piece, if you like my videos and you like what I'm doing, please hit that subscribe button. And if you click the little bell, it will notify you when the next video comes out, so you can see how this got finished up. Now I just put some of that black pigment on a popsicle stick and I'm kind of dragging it through to create some more lines and some more interest in this piece. I always reserve a little bit of clear resin when I'm pouring and mixing my colors, just because you never know when you'll need it, if you'll want to add more color, mix more pigments, or add some clear. And that's what I'm doing here, is I'm taking some of that clear resin that I have reserved and set aside, and I'm putting it down, in those areas where my resin wasn't covering, but I'm also using it to put over some of my other color, because this will help separate colors and put kind of some transparency in your color. If you'd like to see how I create my other geodes using Magic Sculpt and more of a controlled method, I'll put a link above to one of those videos. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed my little experiment. Stay tuned for part 2. And after it cured overnight, this is what my final, well, my first layer looks like. I so appreciate you watching my videos and subscribing to my channel, and every little like or comment really helps me out a lot, and I appreciate it immensely. So if you like what I'm doing, be sure to follow along, and I'll catch you next time. Happy creating, everyone!